Madam Chancellor, Carleton graduates and guests, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce our honorary doctorate recipient, Jean-Paul Gladu. Jean-Paul Gladu is currently principal of Mokwache and previously served as the President and CEO of the Canadian Council of Aboriginal Business from September 2012 until April 2020. He is Anishinaabe and resides in his community of Sandpoint First Nation located on Lake Nipigon, Ontario. He has over 30 years of experience in the natural resource sector. His career path includes work with Indigenous communities and organizations, environmental non-government organizations, industry and governments from across Canada and the globe. Currently, Gladu serves on the board of Suncor, the Institute for Corporate Directors, Broaden Mining, First Nations Major Projects Coalition Advisory Center, and is the chair of Canada's Forest Trust, as well as BHP's Forum for Corporate Responsibility Committee. He previously served on the board of Ontario Power Generation, Noront Resources, and is the past chair of the Mikisu Group of Companies. He is a senior fellow with the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and served as the Chancellor of Waterloo's St. Paul University College from 2017 to 2020. His achievements have been recognized by the Public Policy Forum as a prestigious 2024 honoree. He has completed a forestry technician diploma from Salt College, obtained an undergraduate degree in forestry from Northern Arizona University, holds an executive MBA from Queen's University and the Institute of Corporate Directors designation from Rothman School of Management, University of Toronto. Madam Chancellor, in recognition of his outstanding contributions as a champion of change, who has promoted a renaissance of Indigenous business in Canada, built key bridges with the non-Indigenous Canadian and international business communities, and fostered awareness and change in support of economic reconciliation, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Jean-Claude Gladu.
With pleasure. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and upon the recommendation of the University Senate, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with pleasure and with honor. You get a hug.
Must be the allergies. Actually, I was incredibly moved watching all of you come through that hallway, and what an exciting moment for all of you. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, Chair of the Board of Governors, graduates and families, and honored guests, it is an absolute privilege and honor to share in this day with you and to recognize all the incredible hard work and dedication you put in to be here. Congratulations. A friend of mine, a former chief who lives just a few hours up the road from my First Nation, yes, as Canadians we seem to measure distance in time, stopped in for a visit. We were looking out at Lake Nipigon, my home, and he shared with me that there are 4 periods in a person's life. First, he said, there's the adolescence. This is the time to be young, have fun, make your mistakes, figure out who you are and who you want to be. He went on to the next stage of life, and I believe this is where you are, warriors. You studied hard, you figured out what you stand for and the changes you're going to make in the world. It's time to be the warrior and get out there and fight for what you believe in. The third stage of a person's life, and I believe that's where I am today, is that of a guide. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still have some warrior. I mean, I still fight hard for what I believe in, but I spend a lot more of my time guiding my company, guiding communities, and even guiding companies as a corporate director. and it's a pleasure. The last stage of a person's life, and we're all lucky if we can get there, is that of an elder. And speaking of elder, thank you to Elder Barbara for those wonderful comments this morning in the opening. This elder binds the community. This person is their link to the history, their culture, their practices, and possesses considerable knowledge and experience, and often revered for their love of their people. One such elder in my heart and mind is my friend Right Honorable Paul Martin, an ally who stood here only a few short years ago. I think, Aprek, you were just being initiated as the Chancellor. Congratulations again. He spoke of the importance of Indigenous people and that the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit success is integral to the success of our country. I full-heartedly and unequivocally agree. Okay, back to being the warrior. Yes, I'm looking at all of you. You are all warriors getting ready to fight for what you believe in, to contribute your education, your knowledge, your learnings, your passions to build a better society. Let me share with you my passions and what I believe. I believe in Canada. I believe in our people. And I believe we possess the leadership to lead globally. I also believe we may have lost our way a little bit. There are too many divisions, too many people not making the space to listen to diverging views, too many assumptions, not enough time spent really learning and investigating, particularly when it comes to our family business. Our country was built and still relies heavily on natural resources, from the fur trade to minerals, forest products, energy, fisheries, and tourism. My ancestors had a successful and sustainable relationship with the land in all these business activities. Well, maybe not so much with the first tourists that came to our shores. It's okay, you can laugh a little bit. It's humor that gets us through. We stepped off the balance beam of our relationship with our Mother, the Earth, and at the same time, we're losing ground internationally with our inability to deliver much-needed natural resources to a growing global population. We're fighting amongst ourselves. While some of the bad actors in the world provide the minerals needed for energy transition, oil and gas are coming from some of the worst states in the world that have atrocious environmental and human rights standards while we make the transition. Forest products and fisheries from states that simply don't understand or care about conservation or sustainability. We need to be there for the world, and I believe our Indigenous nations in Canada can be that nucleus to bring our country together. Both of my grandmothers were Anishinaabe Kwe, and we know the terrible history of the residential system. Much was stacked against their kids, my parents. My grandfathers, however, being of Scottish and French descent, had access to jobs. One a logger, the other helped build the Trans-Canada Pipeline in Northern Ontario. My father was a logger. My mother, who is here with us today, she worked various jobs and retired from the Ford Parts Department in Thunder Bay. The jobs from the land instilled much in my parents, and is now passed to me, and now I pass down to my daughter, Chloe. And as parents know, your kids are your reason, your being, so I'm not going to look at her because it'll get very wet in here underneath my eyes, so I'm not going to look at you, my dear. Tens of thousands of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people rely on natural resources for their socioeconomic well-being. Thousands of Indigenous businesses, entrepreneurs rely on natural resource development for their communities. Now, dozens of large infrastructure projects, developments in all sectors are being built and owned by Indigenous people and nations. Who else will we want to be building our sustainable development projects and looking after our lands? Our leaders are bringing divergent views together to build a brighter future. We need more of this, not less. And we need your leadership as you go out in the world to make your mark, to make your difference. We need your allyship to build and lead with us. I implore you to think about traveling to rural and northern parts of Canada, and maybe to postpone your trip to Europe. You will be enriched. You will garnish an incredible understanding of a significant driver of this country that you're never fully going to comprehend in the big cities. You will be inspired, I promise. I am inspired every day by the people I get to work with, sometimes guide, but always learning from. Thank you to my family and friends for being here with me today and the lifelong journey that I've been on. Thank you to Carleton University for bestowing this incredible honor. And thank you, the graduates, for all your hard work to get here to this moment. I wish all of you warriors a beautiful journey, full of hope, success, and love. Miigwech.